Hanny Time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Sandegriff.
And we welcome you into another edition of Hanny Time 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Sandegriff, Mario Jerez, Taylor Sharp. Scott Rabalais with us here in about 15 minutes. We'll do first class, second class, no class. Mario, you in a better mood today?
I feel great.
Do you feel great?
Yes.
I think I know why you feel great.
Yes.
Today. We'll get to that in a minute. Does it have something to do with a certain Pelican, possibly?
It does.
Returning to the court tonight?
It does. There was a Shams bomb this morning.
Yeah. That was very good news, and we'll get to that in a second. After we talk about I'm going to talk about this for a few minutes. The LSU lost to Arkansas last night. I had a request yesterday, was it Monday, to just skip over the LSU basketball. So I'm not going to skip over the LSU basketball part, but there does come a point where you do kind of throw up your hands and say, what are we doing? Watching the game last night, they were 3 for 25 in the first half. They were 3 for 25. They shot 12%. Listen, I mean, nobody was ever going to get me confused with Phil Jackson up here as a basketball X and O guy, all right? But there's only a few things that, I can look at and say, well, maybe you could do this. Maybe you could, I could talk about a lineup change. I could talk about a philosophy change. They went to a zone at one point defensively. But when you shoot 3 for 25, I'm kind of lost. I'm kind of done. You fall behind that far, and it really doesn't matter what you do in the second half. And when you just can't score, and LSU has, over the last 7 games, the offensive production has steadily trickled down. And the loss of Juice Hill didn't do anything more than exacerbate the number of turnovers. You're at 34 in the last 2 games. So you don't have a bunch of great shooters, which is being kind, okay? And your inside presence has been taken away. Jimmy Dykes was doing the game last night, okay? Jimmy Dykes is a former coach, and Jimmy Dykes loves coaches. Jimmy Dykes goes out of his way. He's one of the guys, he's going to go out of his way to compliment coaches. He's going to think of a very early in his career Dick Vitale, okay, when Vitale was loath to really criticize any coach. Dykes is like that. He'd rather talk about the game than criticize the coaches. And at one point, Dykes, who's, again, about as docile with his criticisms as any commentator out there, says they can't even execute an entry pass. That's bad. That's really bad. I could talk about the shot selection a little bit. Adam Miller at one point was hoisting shots from near Little Rock, it seemed like. I mean, he could have been out in the snow if he'd have been any further out to do this. So when you get to that point, when you score 40 points, even on the road in a game, there's not a whole lot else that I can say. I can't talk about your NET ranking because that doesn't matter. I can't talk about where you are as related to the bubble because there you're nowhere near. I can't talk about where you are in the Southeastern Conference race because you're nowhere near. I can't talk about somebody coming back from an injury that's going to give you a jolt because you're nowhere near. I can't talk about a different rotation that you might do because you're nowhere near. I mean, I got nothing. I'm sorry. I got nothing. I was there as courtside every game for John Brady's first year. Brady had inherited a program that was about to go on deep probation, and it was not a very good team. They won 2 games in the Southeastern Conference that year. But I don't remember being this frustrated about just watching and going, man, is anything on the spaceship good? I was there. I didn't go to every game because I didn't want to. Johnny's last year. And they were 2-16. And that team could at least score a little bit. They just had no interest in guarding anybody. And so those games went up and down, and instead of losing games 60-40, LSU games lost games 80-60 or 90-70. But at least, in those, you say, well, they can do one thing well, or, I got nothing. I really don't. And it's not, I'm not jumping on the coach. I know what he inherited. I know what the deal was. He walked into an empty locker room, and maybe we got a little bit ahead of ourselves when they played Kansas State tough and beat Wake Forest and beat Arkansas and played Kentucky tough. And okay, but they have hit a wall, and teams know how to play them, and they simply don't have any offensive answers for that. So Matt McMahon last night on the loss to Arkansas.
The turnovers just kill us. I mean, we have a pretty simple formula that would give us a chance. You saw that some in the second half, where we were able to execute, finish some plays, not have the crazy turnovers that lead to transition. And then what that enables you to do is set your defense. When you turn it over 10 times and miss 22 of your 25 shots against an elite transition offensive team, you're in big trouble.
There was a time where they were just adding up the misses on what they were calling layups and dunks, which is anything inside just a few feet. Like I said, I don't know how what you can do right now. I'm not without sympathy for Matt McMahon, because you could exhume the ghost of Red Auerbach at this point, and what do you have to work with? You had to reconfigure this thing on the fly, and teams have figured out the few things that you do well. They're taking those things away. You've lost, the point guard that spent, the first 17 games of your season, 16, 17 games of your season, that at the very least didn't turn the ball over very much. I mean, Hill was averaging, I think, 1.6 turnovers per game, which is a number that you can live with, especially given the number of minutes that he had. You don't even have that anymore. And again, not to be the bearer of bad news, it's going to get worse before it gets better. You're playing Texas Tech on Saturday. Texas Tech has struggled in the Big 12, but it's the Big 12. Everybody they've played has been ranked except for Oklahoma, and they're a favorite at home tonight against West Virginia. And I've watched Texas Tech play a couple of times. They're not nearly as bad as their record would indicate. They're just playing a ranked team, it seems like, every night in that league. And they're a favorite tonight at home against West Virginia. It's actually one of the games I like, because Texas Tech is due a win. And when they get to Baton Rouge on Saturday, I'm afraid that they're going to look across and say, wow, these guys are way worse than who we've been playing. And they've been blown out once, but most of these games they have hung around and put up a competitive fight. They get they're taking, use a racehorse thing, you're taking a step down in class. Okay, if you can't handle stakes races, they move you down to allowance company. If you can't handle allowance company, they move you down to claiming races, and you get you a win somewhere. I got a feeling that Texas Tech is going to take a look at that game on Saturday and look at it like that. The news was bad/good for the New Orleans Pelicans last night. The bad news was that they fell down 17 points and played very poorly in the first half. The good news is that they made a big run in the second half and got a shot in the air from C.J. McCollum that would have won it against the Denver Nuggets. The bad news is that the shot didn't go down, and they missed they missed Billy Hernan-Gomez on the play
by himself.
Yeah, I mean, he would have won the game. And I like Billy. The trade deadline's approaching, and his name has been brought up. Billy's a star. What league? I forgot the league.
EuroLeague.
The EuroLeague. He was a star there. He plays hard, and he's a good player every time the Pels put him in. At one point last night, Jose Alvarado kind of took the team on his back in the third quarter. I mean, he was going in there. That guy's fearless, dude. He was going right into the lane and right at Joker and put the ball up, and he could finish.
His touch around the basket is really underrated. Like, he gets a lot of love on defense where he's really good.
Yeah, and he is.
He can float it into the hoop from inside really well.
When you're his size and you go at a guy like Joker, who's almost a foot taller than you, and you're converting there. And they come up one basket short. It was not, though, the story of the night. The story of the night, came after the game, or early this morning, if you prefer, which is that Brandon Ingram is supposed to play tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, he's got to get through pregame, okay? They're very, very careful to put that disclaimer on there. Got to get through pregame, but that's the news that the Pelicans have been waiting for. Now, Williamson is going to be out there. They're talking at least 2 more weeks before they reevaluate him, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Mario, puts us right about that time period that we said when he first hurt the hamstring, which is they said 3, we'll say 6. We'll take him back after the All-Star break. It's starting to look like that timeline might be pretty accurate. But for Ingram, this is a little bit earlier. We were concerned that until he went through a full contact practice that they wouldn't run him back here, but they've seen enough that they feel like they can get him on the floor tonight. You're talking about a 21 to 25 point a game score. Given this stretch here where they have lost 8 out of 11, he would have made a difference in so many of those games. They've reached a fatigue wall where there's so much attention on McCollum that there's not a lot of easy baskets for the Pelicans. There are not as many as they need. Williamson got a lot of easy baskets. Ingram gets a lot of easy baskets, not because they are easy baskets to score, but because those guys are superstars and they make it look easy. What they do is not easily duplicated. And the Pels have been doing the best they can. They've held, their head above water as much as they can. They just got to have those guys back. We went through the numbers last week about when your top 2 scorers are out, how many games have you missed? And the Pelicans are at the top of the list of the contenders. You give them those guys back, even one of those guys back, and you're right back. You haven't fallen so far that you're out of contention, although the Western Conference standings are as jumbled as ever. The difference between having to play in the play-in, avoid the play-in, or miss the playoffs altogether is about 6 games right now. So it's close. What can I tell you? The Pels have done a good job to keep themselves afloat, minus all that kind of firepower. Willie Green last night on the 1-point loss to the Nuggets.
I mean, this game comes down to the tale of 2 halves. That's what I told our group. First half, that wasn't us. Even if we get down some points, which happens, I just didn't like our energy and the spirit. And so, to their credit, in the second half, we came out with a much better effort. And once we decided that we were going to try to take care of our home floor, we were right back in the game with a chance to win it.
I like the Pels tonight against the T-Wolves. Like them. As long as Ingram gets through pregame, got to think that the emotional jolt plus, the 25 points is going to be a big deal. We'll take a break. Scott Rabalais when we return. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hanny Time, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Have you ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast that was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infinity QX80.
Experience the Infinity QX80 at your local Infinity retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
3 people walk into a bar. The first 2 order the same old margs. The third, Nuevo Topo Chico Margarita Hard Seltzer. Crafted with real lime juice and a crisp tequila flavor. Topo Chico Margarita Hard Seltzer.
Start your day with news and
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Former Tiger Braden Fajoko will join us on the show. We'll recap LSU, Arkansas, and Pels Nuggets. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time, your sports break during your lunch break with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com. Scott Rabalais from The Advocate joins us. He is fresh off a PR tour with Patrick Reed, I believe. Rab, how you doing?
Oh, I kind of think that's a veiled insult, Charlie.
No.
Sure.
I gotta be honest. I can't take credit for it. Hunt Palmer caught me in the hall and said, "Ask Rabalais how his boy Patrick Reed," because all of a sudden, Hunt Palmer has become the biggest Rory McIlroy fan in the world. So, hey, look, I'm a neutral party to everything here. Hunt loves McIlroy. You love Reed. I'm just gonna put you guys in a room somewhere and let you take care of it.
I'm not too much of a Patrick Reed apologist these days. I got to say, but tell Hunt he better be careful. Patrick's going to sue him too.
Right. Well, anybody that's mean to him, he'll throw a T at you.
A T at him.
One of the two. It's supposed to be a gentleman's game, right? Huh? Just until money gets involved, right?
Charles, obviously, any sports writer would want to be in the room at the champions dinner at the Masters just to see what that's like, because it's only the players and the chairman of the club. No wives or girlfriends or anything. But I would, and they take a picture every year. I can't wait to see that picture to see if the live guys who they're letting play, they're the former champions like Reed and Dustin Johnson and all that, are they going to be like in kind of one group on one side of the room, and the current players going to be on the other side of the room with like the retired champions like Nicholas and Gary Player and and Fuzzy Zeller, they're going to be like in the middle as a buffer. I can't wait to see.
I always figured that, at that dinner, guys hung around with players from their own generation. That's how I'm told at the Baseball Hall of Fame. And they don't all go to the Hall of Fame. Everybody that's in the Hall of Fame doesn't go to the inductions every year like all the former champions go to the Masters. But, they used to talk about how, hey, listen, Brett and Schmidt and, Brooks Robinson, the third baseman had their own little clique or whatever, and Tom Seaver, rest his soul, was the head of what they call the wine snobs. But they hung around with the people that were part of their peer group. I don't know if it's like that at the Masters or not. Do Nicklaus and Woods and I guess Phil, if he goes again, those multiple time winners hang out on their side, and the one-timers, the Trevor Immelmans and the Danny Willets and the Mike Weirs, are they relegated? You have to sit at table 17, sir. I mean, you only won the Masters once, and you can't sit anywhere. You can't sit 50 feet, from Mr. Nicklaus, that kind of thing, or you stay away from Mr. Woods. You've only won it once. I don't know what it's like. I'll never know what it's like, but I can't imagine that Patrick Reed's popular. That part I know.
No. Hey, Dustin. Hey, Fred. You want to come sit at my table?
Right.
Oh, okay. I'll catch you later.
Yeah, you stay. You stay over there. Where did I want to start? I wanted to start with LSU women's basketball. And we talked a little bit about this last week when the Simone statue and everything. But since then, Ohio State has lost. Okay, they lost again to a very good Iowa team. Who's a top 10 team, but they beat them in Columbus, which means that the only two undefeated teams left in women's college basketball are South Carolina and LSU, who are on a collision course for Super Bowl Sunday. Unfortunately, that game's going to be in Columbia, but and LSU's got a very tough game with Tennessee coming up on Monday night. But Rab, this one of the biggest potentially. I'm sorry. Certainly it's going to be one of. Is this the biggest regular season game that LSU has ever played if they both meet up undefeated?
I think you probably have to say it. I mean, Charlie, you've talked about the game in 2003 when Tennessee came to the PMAC and it was sold out for the very first time. That was Simone's freshman year, but it wasn't two undefeated teams. Obviously, LSU's never gone this far into the season unbeaten. So, yeah, it probably would be. I mean, like you just had a tough game with Tennessee on Monday night. That's going to be pretty close to a sellout as well, I would suspect, in the PMAC. And they can get past that game. There's only two games really left on LSU's schedule that they really even have a chance to lose. That's Tennessee on Monday night and that's South Carolina on February 12th. So, yeah, it shapes up to be 1 versus 3. The pollsters dropped. Again, it doesn't really matter. Is it going to be a 1 versus 2 game if LSU wins out? I don't know. Tennessee has the record they've had, but they're undefeated in conference as well. They've gotten their act together. And obviously South Carolina could stay number 1, though they got to go to UConn, play that game. No, that's Tennessee. Excuse me. They don't have another game they're going to lose either. Pardon me. But it's a potentially 1 versus 3 matchup, and certainly it's 1 versus 3 in the net rankings right now, which the selection committee uses. So it's going to be way up there, and certainly you have to say, as I heard you saying before, you called me did we get a little ahead of ourselves with the LSU men? Probably. The LSU women are a little ahead of where I think we thought they could be too. Both years, first year under Kim Mulkey and this year, but and next year they should be really, really, really good.
I decided something on Friday. I was talking with Jimmy about women's basketball, and Jimmy doesn't follow it, very much, but we were talking about it, and I said, I've decided LSU's going to win the national championship next year in women's basketball. They may win it this year, but they're going to win it next year. With what they've got coming in and what they've got coming back, they're going to win the national championship next year. Simple as that.
Got the number 1 recruiting class coming in with Michaela Williams, just and a big 6'5" center. So imagine the Del Rosario with Angel Reese down low, power, 2 5-star players. You just got to find someone to play point guard in place of Alexis Morris, who will exhaust her eligibility. If they can do that,
they're going to win it next year. Book your. I don't even know where the Final Four is. Hey guys, Where's my research staff? Where's the women's Final Four in 2024? Because LSU's winning that. They may win it this year, but they're winning it next year. I already decided. So see, I saved you the trouble. What?
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Welcome to Cleveland. Okay. All right. I asked, you answered. I was hoping for something drastically different than that.
Rock and roll.
No, look, Cleveland Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is great. Rab, they're number 2 in the NET, but their strength of schedule is 105. I'm talking about the NET is 3. Their strength of schedule is 105. The strength of schedule is supposed to be built into the net. Charlie Cream, who does every bit as good a job with the women's bracketology as Joe Lenardi does with the men, still has LSU as a 2 seed. What say you about? Forget about the rankings, but the bracketology. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I emailed Charlie, last week to ask him about that, and he just said LSU's strength of schedule is really holding him down. I think he still has Stanford as a number 1, even though they have 2 losses. And look, you can't argue that LSU has not played a tough non-conference schedule. Kim has explained why. She said she didn't know what kind of team she would be having coming into this year. Sure, that doesn't cut ice with a lot of people, the Kim Mulkey, anti-Kim Mulkey crew around the country.
Yeah.
But nonetheless. And then the SEC is very stratified. I mean, you have 3 teams at the top that are on 8-0, LSU, South Carolina, and Tennessee. And then you have some teams that are winless and teams that have 1 loss. Yeah, and they say they might get 8 teams in the SEC in the NCAA tournament, but that's only because there's not a lot of good women's basketball teams around the country, overall. So I'm a little surprised because I'm like you. The net is supposed to take strength of schedule into account, and it certainly does. And LSU's RPI is down around 20. Using the old RPI system, which the selection committee doesn't pay attention to anymore at all. But the net is the net, and if LSU can get through, okay, let's say they beat Tennessee. Like I said, they're not going to lose to anybody else on their schedule in the regular season. If they can beat Tennessee and they lose at South Carolina, and they get to say they win the SEC tournament, which South Carolina didn't win last year. South Carolina lost to Kentucky in the final of all teams. Kentucky got hot and they won it. They'd have to be a number 1 seed, I would think, despite their strength of schedule. So it's weighing them down a little bit, but they're right there. And I tell you one thing, Charlie, one thing to look at going forward: Baylor is sinking. They're out of the top 25 right now. I think Charlie Cream probably has them as a 6 seed. If LSU was a 2, it's not too big a stretch to see Baylor as a 7, and they could get sent to Baton Rouge. LSU would be a 2 playing a 15. And Baylor would be a 7 playing a 10, and they could meet in the second round of the tournament at the PMAC. That I could see the selection committee doing.
I'm laying the points. I can tell you that. Kim would beat them within an inch of their life, so you can't make a spread big enough. By the way, you were right the first time. South Carolina does play UConn. Tennessee plays UConn as well, but South Carolina plays UConn 2 games before they play LSU. So. For once, that's a week from Sunday they play UConn. So I think for the first time this year I'll be rooting for South Carolina in a game, just because I don't want UConn to beat them before LSU has a chance to beat them. Is that selfish? Is that wrong? Is that wrong?
No, Charlie, not at all. Like those are some of the teams you're going to start seeing showing up in LSU's schedule. I would imagine starting next year, somebody like UConn or Stanford. Or Texas before they join the SEC, they're not having a good year. I'm trying to think of another good example. An Iowa, or an Indiana who's really good in women's basketball. Somebody like that. I think you're going to start seeing those teams show up. You will not see them play home and home with Baylor.
No, probably not.
But they will start playing some of those tougher teams in the near future.
This is the first time. Of 2, I think this is going to happen in this LSU athletic year, where you have a dominant team that is going to play a lousy non-conference schedule leading in, possibly because of some of the games that had been scheduled before they knew that these teams were good. The women's basketball team is the first one. The baseball team is the second one. You're going to hear me complain about that baseball schedule quite a bit in February and March, because LSU is going to go beat some of those teams 27-2, and you're not going to have that that series or two against teams that are comparable to Southeastern Conference play before LSU gets there. I'll complain about that next month. For the moment, we're focused in on this. So LSU and Tennessee on Monday night, Rab. The Vols are undefeated in conference. They are not as good as they were in the heyday of Pat Summitt, obviously, but they're still Tennessee women's basketball, and it's still got the potential to be a terrific game on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, before the season, they were picked in the preseason top 4 or 5. They were picked to finish second in the SEC to South Carolina, who returned everyone this year from last year's national championship team, and LSU was picked third. They had some injuries in the non-conference portion, but they've gotten healthier and they've gotten their act together. They're still not dominating people. They're not quite dominating people the way you see South Carolina dominating people, or LSU has with most of their opponents. But they're still a team with talent and length and size, and they're formidable. They're going to be they're going to be LSU's best test of the seasons to date, easily. And so that's why I think we're all waiting to see really how good this LSU team is. That they went on the road and just clobbered Alabama by 38 points is a good sign. Alabama was a top 20, or top 25 net team, a team that is going to make the NCAA tournament. And that was one of LSU's best tests today. They won at Arkansas, who's an NCAA tournament team. We gave LSU a tough time in Baton Rouge, then got roasted at South Carolina. I think they out-rebounded them, Charlie. This is for real. 74-17.
Yeah.
It was just unbelievable. But Tennessee, a formidable team. This is a game LSU could lose if they don't play well. LSU's got the inside-outside game going, though, where Reese is doing her double-double thing, and of course she just broke Sylvia Fowles' record for consecutive double-doubles. And if Morris and especially Jasmine Carson, who's gotten hot of late, are hitting from the outside, it's going to be very tough to deal with, especially at home in front of what I expect will be a very good crowd in the 5 figures.
The strength of schedule is a reasonable criticism. Okay, I can't dispute the numbers there. The number 1 seed, the bracketology doesn't mean anything until you get to the end. We'll find out on the court. LSU plays Tennessee this Monday. They play South Carolina a week after that. They play Ole Miss, who is 16-4, I think, the game after South Carolina. And then there's the SEC tournament where they'll face, I would think, at least 2 ranked teams, if maybe even 3. Right. So they'll know, okay? And if they don't, if when they step up in class they don't respond, then they'll get knocked down. And if they do respond, they'll get pushed up. So again, the strength of schedule thing, that's reasonable. I mean, those are numbers. They're not disputable. It's also not disputable they've been beating the stew out of everybody. I thought that the game against Arkansas the other night was a good thing. When you blow everybody out by 20, when you finally get in one of those close games and you're in close quarters, it helps if you've done that before. And you don't want that first time to be in a postseason. Or, maybe one game against South Carolina that doesn't go the way you want it to, and you get into postseason, you're really into a close game, and it's the first or second time. So I thought that was great, and the way they responded, I thought was really strong. That was a really, really big effort by Arkansas the other night, and a great finish to the game.
That was all a positive for LSU, for sure. You don't want to be 1991 UNLV going to the Final Four, and you haven't been in a close game. Yep. Well, and then you panic. We're
gonna find out real soon here, because as I've said, the price of poker is going up here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see how they do. Rab, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Charlie. Take care.
We'll take a break. We'll come back to you first class, second class, and no class when we return. Anytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Anytime.
Big Mike's in Denham Springs with live music and crawfish. It's a pretty nice combination, right? Live music coming up tomorrow night from Taylor Nauta, on Friday from Jared Kelly, and Saturday from Titanium Rain. And starting right now, every day at 11 o'clock, every day. I know, because Big Mike's boiling them himself when he's not, being the Grand Marshal of the Denham Springs Mardi Gras Parade. Your crawfish are coming out at 11 o'clock every day. So it is crawfish season. at Big Mike's. Don't forget the happy hour drink prices extend on Sunday from 11 a.m. all the way until 7 p.m. Book Big Mike's for your parties, multiple party rooms that they can put you in, and off-site catering is available as well right there in the heart of Denham Springs. It is Big Mike's with the Denham Springs Hall of Fame located out front. Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Have you ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast that was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infinity QX80.
Experience the Infinity QX80 at your local Infinity retailer.
Hey, it's on. Join me Wednesday for another edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, reacting to LSU and Arkansas on the hardwood. A new segment, What If Wednesday? Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 Wednesday, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Annegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hanny Time. First class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
That no man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
My life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, no class, brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com down in Crowley, Louisiana since the 1930s. Support our Louisiana farmers and buy Supreme Rice. So, by the way, the NFL has their awards. The finalists have been announced. That's today's podcast. Gave you my votes on the awards, along with it looks like the interview process is ramping up for a couple of these NFL teams with coaching openings. So we talked about where the suitors for Sean Payton are right now. It's on the Hanny cast right now. First class, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles. This season for the Eagles has some similarities to the New Orleans Saints Super Bowl season in 2009. The teams are not similar, but there's some similarities to how the seasons have gone to this point. Stay with me here. 2009, the Saints opened the season at 13-0. They lost a tough game to the Dallas Cowboys on a Saturday night. Then they had a game against Tampa where they missed a field goal. Then they had a game that didn't matter against Carolina. They lost all three of those games. And for 2 weeks, everybody was real nervous about, man, look, the Saints everything went great. 13 weeks, undefeated. Everything went in the Saints' direction. They lost the last three. Are they okay? How are they going to do in the first round of playoffs? And if you remember, the Saints went out and thumped Arizona. And I mean that quite literally. Bobby McCray almost killed Kurt Warner in that game. Maybe the best game Reggie Bush ever played as a Saint that day. Saints crushed them. Well, you look at the Eagles. There's one more game in the league now, but instead of 13-0, 13-1, got into the last 3 games, and now they were missing their quarterback, okay? So they go to Dallas, and they lose a tough game. You with me? Yeah, lost a tough game to Dallas. See where I'm going with this? Gardner Minshew. Then they lose a game to a team they've got no business losing to, like those Saints lost to the Buccaneers. Had no business losing that game at home. Philadelphia had no business losing to the Saints, even with Gardner Minshew at quarterback in the second last week. Last week of the season, game doesn't matter. Okay, game didn't matter to the Saints against Carolina that year. Game against the Giants didn't matter to the Eagles. Get in. Get your bye. Everybody's like, man, is everybody healthy? Are they okay? Are they the Eagles that we saw for 13 weeks? Are they the Eagles that, kind of limp to the finish? They're the Eagles that we saw for the first 13 weeks. They pulverized the Giants last week. I don't know if the Eagles finish it out the way the Saints did. The Saints had to kick a field goal in overtime to get to the Super Bowl, and they needed an interception in the last few minutes to win the Super Bowl, but they did. We'll see if Philadelphia does the same thing, but that response to the late season, I didn't want to call it a swoon. It was just kind of a late season, kind of limp to the finish. Some of it mattered, some of it didn't. Is it going to linger over? No, it did not. Eagles, first class. Second class, almost want to let Mario do this one for me because this is pretty easy, right? It's got to be Brandon Ingram, okay? The fact that he's returning to the court is good. The possibility of where the Pelicans can go with him and later Zion could be great. Mario, we got an update on him. He has been upgraded on the list tonight to probable.
That's right. Him and Najee Marshall both probable. And I don't think he'll be necessarily on a minutes restriction, but they will take it easy with him. And I could see him be a little rusty tonight. But like you're saying, going forward, this is huge. This is everything for the Pelicans. B.I. finally being back.
Averaging 21 points a game until he went out. His last game was November the 25th against Memphis. Are you looking at the whole injury chart for the Pelicans right now?
No, but I can pull it up momentarily.
Well, it's Zion Williamson is out. We know that. Is everybody else healthy?
For the most part, yes. Najee Marshall now being probable. Yeah. Besides E.J. Liddell, who's still out with that.
Well, he never played. Is this the first time since November that they've played with even, all but one?
Oh, Dyson Daniels is out tonight.
The ankle injury from last night. Okay. Almost there. Almost there. Good with a chance to be
progress
great.
For sure.
Yes, for sure. No class this week. I tweeted this out on the weekend when I saw the story for the first time. I talked about it on the podcast earlier this week, and I'm talking about it again today. This is the worst idea that I have heard come out of a league since baseball decided that home field advantage was going to be decided by the All-Star game. The NFL, if you haven't heard this, has floated the idea of putting the AFC and NFC championship games at neutral sites. I hate this idea. This is just another way to screw your season ticket holders. The NFL wants to take the NFL already controls the championship games as far as on-site revenue. Okay, they don't control the playoff games before that. The teams do. They control the championship games, and what they want to do is they want to create a bidding war for neutral site games, and that means that Buffalo and Kansas City play in Indianapolis, Detroit, or Atlanta, wherever. I'm delighted that the Bengals screwed up their trial run last week because they really wanted to do this. And the funny thing is that this proposal originated from the Kansas City Chiefs, who on Sunday will host not one, not two, not three, not four, their fifth consecutive AFC championship game. And these are the people that want to change it. Need money much? Okay. I hate this. Every now and then I take up the cause of the season ticket holders, the college season ticket holders, which I've really never been. But the pro season ticket holders, I was for a long time. And the only game the game I wanted to see more than anyone else was an NFC championship game in the Superdome. And I finally got to see that. I can't imagine having the type of patience to pay the exorbitant prices that the NFL wants for preseason tickets and now for games at the end of the season that may be meaningless where seating is concerned. And if you had tickets to the Giants-Eagles game, and, well, did you see the real Giants and Eagles? No, you really didn't. Well, I'm doing all that so that on that one shining moment, I'm going to take a basketball term, that one game, the one I want to go see, the one where I can sit next to the people I've been sitting next to for years, the one where I can go to my favorite restaurant before or after the game, the one where we can have a party and celebrate our team. I don't want that to be in I don't want that to be in Denver, all right? I don't want that to be in Miami. I don't want that to be in San Francisco. I want that here. And I'm making enough money. I mean, we're talking about 32 of the richest people in the United States of America. This is the owners. I can't even blame this on Goodell. He's just he's just a pawn for the owners anyway. No, this is 32 billionaires saying what we really want to do is screw our fans one more time for some more money. I'll push back on this as hard as I will the permanent opponents in the Southeastern Conference. It's disgusting. The other thing it will do is if you're the number one seed, you get the bye in the first round. It's a big deal. But having home field for the game that sends you to the Super Bowl is a pretty big deal too. You take that carrot off the table, it's only a matter of time before the NFL goes to 16 teams in the playoffs, so you'll have 8 on each side. So then what's the point of the number one seed? You're not when they go to 8 teams, and they're going to 8 teams in the playoffs. The union's not going to let them go to 18 regular season games, so to make up that revenue, they're going to go to an 8th team. And then the number one seed won't get a bye anymore. And if you take home field away, what's the point? So what are you going to do? You're going to increase the number of meaningless games at the end of the season. Double thumbs down on this idea. Couldn't hate it any worse. We're brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Bring you first class, second class, no class. If you're planning a gathering, we're getting to carnival time. Along the parade routes, you got a pot of jambalaya, you got a pot of gumbo, pot of red beans. Somebody's yard. Yeah. Anybody else watch parades from somebody's yards? Maybe I'm just from small town Louisiana. Maybe they only do that in Franklin. No, they do that a lot of other places. For your next gathering, stretch your food dollar with Supreme Rice, whether it's the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, or the jasmine Supreme Rice. Perfect complement to any meal. You're supporting our Louisiana farmers. You're going to save some money. Easy to get at all your AG food stores, all of your Rouses, all of your Walmarts, including your Walmart neighborhood stores. And that's in our New Orleans market as well. For more information and some unique recipes, go to SupremeRice.com. Come back to wrap it up. Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
As we start 2023 here in January at Accurate Infinity of Baton Rouge, we remind you 3.9% APR for 60 months on most models on the lot and $1,000 loyalty cash on your MDXs and your TLXs. 2-year, 24,000-mile complimentary scheduled maintenance on all 2023 models. If you're in the market for a certified pre-owned vehicle, know that the large inventory on the Acura and Infiniti lot has been brought up to code through a rigorous inspection. You get 100,000-mile powertrain coverage, roadside assistance, first scheduled maintenance is free, and a complimentary service vehicle as your car is being serviced. transparency in pricing, service after the sale, and a family atmosphere at Acura Infinity of Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hanny Time, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power.
Championship Sunday in the NFL playoffs. Tune in Sunday at 2 p.m. when the Eagles host the 49ers for the NFC Championship. Then the Chiefs host the Bengals at 5:30 for the AFC Championship. Right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In the chat, Nelson says no class for scheduling Houston. In Houston, not that great a game, but at least it would make my season ticket package worth more. You know how I feel about those neutral site games. Now, Houston will be in the Big 12 by that time, but no. I mean, you do one of two things. Either who you're playing is really, 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 really good, and they're going to return a trip, or play the damn game in Tiger Stadium. I'm sorry. Okay, it's a recruiting advantage, right? Bah. Another no class to the writers. This is from, where was it? This is from Steven, who says no class to the writers that voted for Scott Rowland, but wouldn't vote for Mark Grace. I know where he's going with this. Grace was a good hitter, but he was an elite defensive first baseman. His offensive numbers don't hold up against the first baseman of his day, but when you add in the defense, and he's got a case on Rowland with this. Roland's numbers don't necessarily hold up with a guy like Gary Sheffield, who they don't play the same position. So maybe Sheffield started his career at third base, but he was mostly an outfielder. His numbers don't compare offensively to Chipper Jones. Okay, he's the most recent third baseman to go in the game, but he's much better third baseman than Jones was. I wouldn't have voted for Roland. Okay, I didn't think of him as a Hall of Famer. I thought he was a great defensive third baseman. He was a good offensive third baseman. That I think of him in the elite company. That I think of a third baseman like Jones, or Miguel Cabrera when he was playing third. No, okay, so, but que sera, that's how I would. And all things. Should Dale Murphy be in the Hall of Fame? Dale Murphy probably gets as much run for the Hall of Fame and his run of dominance for about 6 years, where 4 times he was in the top 12 in the MVP voting and twice he won it, were as good as any, but he dropped off pretty quickly, so he didn't get in. I think the Veterans Committee is going to put him in, but there are a lot of what we call children of Dale Murphy, people that are at or near my age that grew up on Braves baseball. When the Braves were the only team that you could watch in a lot of markets, they grew up, in the heyday of Dale Murphy. Plus, Murphy's a pretty likable guy. Make a pretty strong case for him. Thanks to everybody for participating. For Mario Jerez, for Taylor Sharp, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.